Hello and welcome KwaZiwewera, a show where we talk about everything and anything to do with the African person. And today we're going to be talking about relationships. And in this episode we've got a very, very, very exciting guest. He's a musician. He's a digital media practitioner. He's got Love on a podcast, Love on a weekday. He's responsible for Mazirido Monday. Godfrey.
Hi.
I think you can introduce yourself. I don't even know what to call you.
Yeah, I do a lot, guys. I'm a liker of things, godly things. In my creativity, in my entrepreneurship, in my ministry weMafaro. We do a lot, and I say we because I love collaboration. I work with a lot of people. I'm in the music, media, marketing, and entertainment spaces, and yeah, photography, videography. I do productions, I do event coverage, I do branding, I do marketing. I told you I like things.
Yeah, how many hours in a day do you have?
Oh yeah, just 32. Just 32.
Wow. Interesting. All right. So I've been watching your stuff. I've been following you on social media, and I was I jumped on one of your lives where we were talking about the Mazirido Monday. I think it's Love on a weekday. Yes. Which is why you're here today, because we want to talk about this relationship. But we're not doing them right.
Okay, no, that's all right.
I don't know whether the Laughing Tones and Mjolo are synonymous, but that's what we want to unpack today.
Okay.
So, to just start this conversation going, we've realized that my relationships at Tawana Mazwano, I think a lot of people would agree with me that my relationships at Tawana Mazwano are not lasting. They are just good at giving us heartaches and heartbreaks. I don't know. Compared to the previous generations, our fathers, their fathers, and going back, they had more stable relationships. Could this be something to do with our age or the food we're eating? Or I don't know. What do you think is the biggest challenge with the relationships nowadays?
So, it's a good question. It's a very good question. And I am still trying to unpack it. You know, I love relationships through and through. Everything about them, what they entail, what they present to us in our lives individually and collectively.
Are you in a relationship?
So,
wow. that says a lot. That says a lot already.
Well, okay. So the reason why I glitched, right, is
Hey, I'm sorry.
No, it's not even that. No, I have this thing where a relationship can take on different forms. You can have a professional relationship. You can have a platonic relationship. You can have a romantic relationship. So you said, am I in a relationship?
Godfrey, don't try to be smart. don't try to be smart. You know what we're talking about right now.
No. So, am I in a romantic relationship? Is that what you're asking?
Something like that.
Yes, something like that.
Oh! Yeah, using something like that with you.
No.
Okay. Let's go.
So, relationships. There's nothing new under the sun, as far as I know, as far as I understand. And when I say that, what happened yesterday is the very same thing that's happening today, actually.
Okay.
However, my outlook is that the people of yesterday, right, compared to today, are slightly different in how they respond to this truth that nothing new happens under the sun. So, if people are being promiscuous, if people are being toxic, if people are being abusive, that happened yesterday, just as it happens today. Right?
So the guys in previous generations were just dumb and they'll just sweep it under the rug.
So now, I wouldn't say they were dumb. I would say there's more to it than meets the eye. Right? So today's woman, and this is commentary, I'm not trying to mansplain anything, just a bit of a disclaimer.
I'm not a part of what he's going to say.
So from my observations, today's woman is less tolerant or less less patient or less accepting of nonsense, if I can say. So if a man does anything untoward, she's out. She's not trying to shingirira. She's not trying to sustain anything. She's out because it's like, bro.
But is that a right attitude?
No, so I wouldn't say there's a right or wrong to it. I'm just highlighting an observation.
Okay.
So yesterday's woman who was dealing with yesterday's man, right? Let's cross the gender bridge.
Nice.
There's yesterday's man and today's man. They probably do the very same thing, right?
All right.
It's just that how they respond to each action or intention is slightly different as people change, as social pressures change, as social dynamics change.
All right.
But the happenings in society are still pretty much the same. If it's men being promiscuous, abusive, or absent, right?
Yeah.
So things like that. Like, so again.
But then looking at this theory of yesterday's woman and today's woman that you brought up, my question really is on days before were better than today. So yesterday's woman was better. Which sort of models the ideal woman we should look at to solve the problems that we're facing today?
So now, I think it's fortunate and it's unfortunate that some of the terms that we use to describe these things are very relative, right? Better to who? Better how, right? So if I look at from a romantic point of view, there's yesterday's woman who could be my mother or my grandmother, and today's woman who's the peer, right? The woman I know in class or at work.
Sure.
These women, how they respond to situations, domestic situations, has changed. My mother, based on my initial presentation, would tolerate certain things in the household differently, or should tolerate different things in the household compared to today's woman, right? Okay. Then this could be the fruit of various things. Preference, changes in preference, changes in social pressure, advances in social dynamics and lifestyle. All of those things influence these decisions. So,
or your mother had good cultural grounding.
That's also relative. Good to who?
Society.
So,
then,
I'm not even trying. I don't want to then just sort of have this wishy-washy that relative should just stand. But we can. Okay, so like, because I'll bring this up. If my mother stayed in her marriage to my father, right? There are various reasons why she would stay. Kids are involved, assets, or there's a security concern, there's a safety, whatever kind of concern. Whereas today's woman may be more independent than this woman, right? So now she doesn't have to stay. She doesn't need you as a man. Like, they're those kinds of things.
Right, okay, maybe the question is too broad.
Yeah.
Let's use the example that you just mentioned, that your mother would stay for the kids. In today's relationships, kids are still involved.
Okay.
And today's woman will not stay for the kids. So looking at the two situations, what do you think is ideal for family growth? Staying for the kids or not?
That depends.
According to you, what do you think?
Okay, so...
Because we want to be objective in this argument.
Let me try to put it this way. If a woman does leave with kids involved, that can be a good thing in the lessons being taught to them that, hey, I am struggling through this, and it's okay to leave if these conditions or these sentiments are in place, right? But also, if I do stay, it's okay to stay because there's my commitment to this man. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I'm saying it depends.
I get it. I think this whole discussion then brings a lot of culture background to how we even get into those things. Because from a functional perspective, I think the best way to tackle this would be for us to define the roles of people in relationships. Then, because if a woman comes into my life traditionally, I would say she's coming for us to create a family, to take care of my children, and do that. But if she then leaves the children, is she a good woman?
What defines womanhood, right? Because womanhood can stand without kids involved.
Yeah, but when you then
So
come
now
into a
there's a
marriage,
difference between womanhood and motherhood.
but when you come in a relationship, we are speaking in the context of
Okay,
a relationship.
that's
The reason why you're coming into a relationship is we want to build something together.
Yeah,
Right?
that's fine. Some people do it for vibes and
Okay, let's then define the roles both ways.
Okay.
For men, can we agree that men should provide security, provide for the family financially, and provide leadership? Do we agree that these are the roles for men?
Yeah, generally.
Okay,
Yes, yeah.
generally. Okay,
Yeah,
and
so-
what
so
would you propose are the roles for women?
So, I actually don't know much about what the kind of mandate. So I'm a man, right, and I strive to be a better man through and through, right, for myself, for other people, and so I am more versed on what's expected of men than for women. So I'll start there. So I know, from what I understand and know, men are expected or mandated to protect, provide, and preside.
Which is exactly the
I think there's a fourth one, but those are the three main ones: protect, provide, and preside. For women, submission is a big deal. Respect is a big deal. What that looks like takes on different faces in each relationship.
Of course, it's a case by case.
It's a case-by-case thing, but ultimately submission is a thing. Yes, also, yeah.
Say it.
Men are also expected to submit to women, actually.
Oh wait.
Very glitching, system error.
No. You lost me right there.
Yeah, no, so
How?
This is what I've learned from the Bible. In Ephesians 4, verse 21 to 25. It's a context. Ephesians was written by the Apostle Paul.
To the Ephesians. Not to the Zimbabweans.
It's fine. It's
Okay.
fine.
Let's go.
That is important.
Exactly.
It is important. But he was addressing marital issues, domestic issues, and relational issues amongst Christians. And so he started addressing us all together collectively, and he said, spiritually guided relationships look like this. Then he said, marriage looks like this. Then he says, parents address your children like this. Children address your parents like this. Then he spoke to masters and slaves. So this part I just highlighted and referenced is to marriage, right? Romantic relationships.
Yes.
The verse preceding that, he says, submit to one another. Right? Then he says, wives, submit to your husbands. And submission looks like this. There are 2-3 verses that elaborate on that. Then the following, it says, husband, submission looks like this, where you die to self as Christ died for his church, his bride.
For me, I think I read a certain version that
Yeah, so
says,
they also
husbands, love your wives like Christ loved the church.
Yes.
So in that respect, there was no submission.
No,
It was
so-
the role
Yeah.
for the husband is to then love the
Yes.
wife. Make sure the wife is happy, make sure everything is there. Just like Christ
Yes.
would do anything for the church. But it doesn't then say you...
No, so I am highlighting my understanding, right? That there's what precedes these mandates is the call to submit to one another.
All right.
Man to woman and woman to man. And then it elaborates. That's how I've interpreted it.
Right. Okay, so you're saying submission comes in different forms.
Yes.
For the guy, it's more on the responsibility side. Submit
more
to
of
the
accountability
you
side.
submit to the needs for protection for your wife, needs for provision and things like that.
Yeah.
But on a functional, it's the wife submits to the instruction of the husband.
Yeah, well, that's the hope. And the hope...
Why am I sensing some hesitation?
No, because the unfortunate thing is that men can be dizzy, bro.
Granted,
So if you're submitting
granted.
to a fallen man,
But you chose.
man-
You chose.
Yeah, I get that. I'm just so that's why I'm saying it's with caution, because I understand when women are hesitant or resistant to this mandate to submit to men.
But why do you feel the need to resist when you've got to make a choice before you get into a relationship? You choose between A, B, and C. And you go with B. When you go with B, submit to B.
Yeah,
Simple as that.
Yeah, that's fine.
So don't then tell me, no, he's not doing this, he's not doing that. I mean,
no, I'm with you there. Once you've made your bed, sleep in it.
Exactly. So that doesn't change.
Yeah,
Women submit. Whether it's a deadbeat guy, I don't care.
I'm not fighting that.
Exactly.
I'm not fighting that. Yeah. So, roles and responsibilities, just to elaborate more, roles and responsibilities are changing as well, right? Consider this. We know conventionally that the man provides, the man is the one who goes to work, he's the main breadwinner.
Yes.
Right? But women are working now.
Why are they working?
Yes, and women are earning money.
Who say they should go to work?
Who said they shouldn't?
Society said they should stay at home.
Society.
The African traditional society. We are Africans.
Society is made up of people.
Yes, society is made of people. But this, catch me. What I think is creating a lot of these problems for us is our drift from culture. We now have a know-it-all culture where, because of this education that came through, we now have got these rights and we now define our world our own way, divorcing from the history.
No, I hear. So, if I'm getting you correctly, because I think the main talking point is that things worked yesterday a certain way.
Yes.
And today they're not working.
Yes. And if yesterday was not broken, there's no need to fix it.
That's true. And that has merit. That has merit. It holds water. And that today's brokenness is because people have drifted from what is cultural and traditional to us here in Zimbabwe. So let's get back to that.
Let's get back.
And
let's find solutions.
Yes. And I hear you, and I do agree to an extent. However, I will highlight that what was happening yesterday wasn't perfect.
Yes, it wasn't.
And there are certain things that I would change or try influence to transform or be more progressive.
I get that. What happened yesterday wasn't perfect. But if you take a step for the worse, it's very good to step back.
Yes, that's fine. But now also today isn't always worse. I would say. Right?
Yeah, okay.
So,
all right. But statistics would say otherwise.
Yeah. So now this is where discussion and debate comes in. Can we objectively or can we make positive statements that today's woman is not as good as yesterday's woman? No, we can't. I don't think we can. Based on what criteria? Can we say that because women leave relationships or they don't hold on to, they don't shingirira, that they're worse or less? To me, that just says today's woman is more assertive, she's more sure of what she wants and what she doesn't want, and she's more courageous to stand up against what she doesn't want. Because what I've seen, the longer or the long-term relationships that we laud from yesterday may not be good, actually.
An interesting question that I may want to pose to you would be that what made the modern woman less tolerant, more educated about herself, more self-aware, as you may want to summarize it? What made it that way? What changed?
So we can only give a few theories or hypotheses to answer that question. Confidence grows. Okay, wait. Let me change that. You know the theory of natural selection, or what is it? Who's this guy? Who's the Big Bang guy?
I forgot his name. Talking a lot of rubbish, but anyway. No, sorry.
Anyway, no. So okay,
we'll get back to that.
Yeah, we'll get back to it. But there's a thing of just things will always just get better, right? Just by the way natural selection happens, that you want the best thing to be the best thing and produce the best.
Granted, obviously things move and develop, they progress, right? But we also have to be mindful of the development.
Yes,
it's not
that's what I'm
all
saying.
Development that's good, right?
Yeah, sure.
Exactly.
But
so I'm saying we are coming from...
That's the point of what I'm saying.
So we're coming from yesterday's woman, right? they could stay in relationships. But maybe so what needed to be fixed was not stability. But my point is the development that we have in today's woman, visa stability because now they can just hop from
there are pros and cons.
Yeah, so it wasn't good because beside the good that was even there in that other relationship.
Like, okay, wait, how do you explain yesterday's woman staying in an abusive relationship?
Abusive defined by who?
If you're being beaten, if you're being abused emotionally, psychologically.
You see, the other thing that then happens is, I think, yes, they're abusive guys. They're deadbeat dads and things like that.
Yeah.
But I don't want to say exceptions, but they can't be the majority.
That's fine, but
they can't be the majority, right? So let's say 20% were abusive, 80% were okay.
Okay, fine.
Why did we then have to ditch the 80% standard to fix a 20%? Do you get it?
I can't answer that, but I do want to. I do want to.
My concept then becomes there are certain things that I feel women now call abuses because of the education that they now have and things like that. To say, if you say you're going to bus, they feel like, no, that's abuse. You can't do that to me. But the reason why I married you, the reason why I paid Rusambo, the reason why I paid Danga was for you to come and take care of my children. Granted. Do you agree?
Yeah,
that's why we pay Lobola.
Yeah,
right? So if I pay for someone to come and take care of my children, then they tell me they want to go to work at the expense of the growth of my children. That's a very big problem. It's not abuse.
Oh yeah, no. So that in itself may not be abuse, but abuse can come from that. Yes.
Okay, I
so
get
given
that
that there's a tension point, how you respond to that tension may be abusive.
But okay, let's say that's the scenario.
Hold on. And then there's also a matter beyond what's on the surface regarding that scenario. This tension point is the fruit of disagreement, right? So if there was agreement at the beginning and the foundation of the relationship that I am marrying you for these reasons, and she then steps out, by all means, you're at liberty to be upset.
Good.
But if there wasn't agreement and there was coercion or whatever, then either one of you or both of you is being abused.
How well versed are you with the items that I paid in Lobola? In Rora.
So, yeah.
Rora, there's what they call Rusambo. I want to get to that. To say there's what they call Rusambo. And Rusambo is paid for the service. Okay, when you cannot churora and there's a misconception here which comes on whatever. You're not buying a person, you are buying their services.
Yeah, that's fine.
Saka panobviswa Rusambo. Rusambo runobviswa kuti munhu achakubikira, achakuwachira, achaita all those household jobs. This is Rusambo. So when I pay, we know Rusambo ndo zvanobhadharira, and I pay, and your father accepts that money. It means we've all agreed that this is what I paid for, and Danga is what you pay for the kids. To say you're going to raise my... So when we make that payment, we are agreeing that this is what we... Then so when the child comes, it's a problem.
So you're right. You're fully right. If terms and conditions have been laid out,
exactly.
If the transaction has been completed and there are witnesses, no one should complain.
Exactly my point.
So now my contention is that for us not to get to that fighting point, that breaking point, when someone's stepping out, someone is angry, someone is what, it's either we should fix this foundation or do away with it.
Completely.
Or change the terms and conditions. But once you agree...
This is where I was coming with my point. To say the modern woman has drifted from our culture, right?
Okay.
The yesterday's woman understood why she was there. That's why she wouldn't go.
Okay.
The modern woman now does not understand that.
Okay.
But at the same time, to say ndo zviri kuitika but kubhadhariswa navanhu asiri kutozivawo why that transaction is happening. So now when you send mwana wako wabvuma nemari yawatambira so you're now trying to mix two things, the modern culture
and tradition.
So this is my thinking.
Okay, now I'm with you.
We have to stick to one.
Right. Perfect. So now, what I would like to see happen in my family, if it's the woman I'm marrying and the family that we grow, compared to what has been normalized, traditional, and whatever, is doing away with traditional or doing away with what is conventionally cultural to Zimbabwe or my Zimbabwean living.
Right, but does that affect your identity as an African? Because identity comes in culture, beliefs, and
so you can identity is
you're not forced.
I understand. Identity is malleable, bro. Like you can change identity, right? Or your identity can transform or grow, or what's the word? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like your identity is not static.
Evolves.
Yeah, it evolves. Yes, identity is not static. Right. I would think.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that's
a company's identity can change over time. So why can't culture's identity change over time? And so
granted.
To me, so granted that it makes sense, granted that it's progressive and beneficial to all parties involved. So my proposition, right, would be that, okay, we respect and acknowledge what culture and tradition stood for and how it looked like yesterday. But given that so much is changing around that, certain things can change. They don't have to, but they can, to fit the changing human or the changing person.
Right.
In the light of changing social dynamics and patterns. So today, I want to marry today's woman, right? And she can draw goodness from yesterday's woman and still be perfect today. But she is different from yesterday's woman more often than not.
Right.
And so certain things that I would then do away with. This, if it was left to me, I wouldn't do the whole Rusambo thing.
Right. But now,
because
it's not up to you. This is where the conundrum is. You want that for your family.
Yes,
you want this is you and my guru, wherever you are.
Yeah.
This is between the two of you. And but Baba my guru.
That's fine.
Right. So the father.
Yes.
Are you going to convince him to say this is?
So what I would do if is it Tejara?
Oh wow! You don't know this?
If my Tejara ever watches this, the whole thing would be that I will say what I hope for. I will present what I wish for. If they agree, great. If they don't, great.
And right? If they don't?
Great. No. Like I'm not one to try change anyone. Right? I'm looking for what I want.
Are you gonna leave?
That depends. So now I think what so
someone is in trouble. I don't know.
Guys, and so I'm speaking objectively, but personalizing it brings it home, right? Like I'm looking. So ideally, I would be very excited about marrying into a family that doesn't believe or practice or conform to traditional cultural practice that I feel are backward or regressive or irrelevant anymore, if that makes sense. And I say this respectfully.
Yeah, I get
right?
you. I get you.
That certain things that happened yesterday just don't make sense today, even if we call it culture or tradition. Roles, responsibilities, or rights and duties from yesterday compared to today. And so, I would say, guys, but I acknowledge what you guys do. I acknowledge what you value and what you want.
And the Bible is the payment of bride price.
Yes, there is.
Why do you pay?
So I'm glad you mentioned that. And this is again a call on interpretation and application. The Bible, from what I've learned, can be read in two ways. From a descriptive approach and or a prescriptive approach. So lobola being mentioned in the Bible, tradition being mentioned in the Bible, culture being mentioned in the Bible is predominantly descriptive and not prescriptive.
No,
So lobola was described in the Bible, but it wasn't prescribed.
I understand that part, but what I'm just saying is that it's something that society had and saw fit to include, right? Because for me, lobola would define the family. if I pay lobola,
Yeah.
automatically I become the head of that family.
Yeah.
Right? So if I do away with that, don't you think we are opening another can of worms
Yeah.
where women are going to then come hard on you to say, who do you think you are?
But those are social pressures, because here in Southern Africa, that's what's normal to us. But in Asia, women pay.
Yeah.
So what would you say about those men?
They're Asians. This is the thing.
Exactly. So that's
the
what you
reason
see
why
that-
we have this
that's-
show. This is the exact reason why we have this show. We are
Yeah.
Africans.
Yes.
And
So that's what
the main
makes
problem,
things dynamic.
We are Africans,
Yeah.
and if we are Africans, we've got an African way of doing things.
That's fine.
Right.
And
so if we move away from that, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to
Yeah.
move.
Yeah.
It's a choice.
Yeah.
But if we move away from that, is that not going to bring more harm to us? Are we ready for change?
There's no objective answer to that.
Right, so I think we've been trying to go around talking about it, but basically, so in summary, we are saying the challenges that we have in modern day society's relationships are that we're mixing two cultures.
Yeah, that's one of the challenges.
So
yeah.
in a few words, what would you say are the corrective measures?
Okay, so
this?
it's a good question.
Yeah, I think to round up this.
Shoot me sideways. That's a good question. So, correction. If we talk about correction, we also need to highlight what's wrong. All right, what are we correcting? And
We're correcting the mixing of cultures.
okay,
So stick to one.
okay, yeah. So stick to one if you can. If you can.
Yeah,
I
but
think from a practical point of view, stick to one if you can. So if you're going to be modern, be modern. If you're going to be traditional, be traditional. However, if you cannot, it is also good, I would say, to pick the good from each and have this hybrid approach to make it work for
But
your
hybrid
family.
is not gonna make sense if you're gonna make me pay the dollars. Yo,
So
I get it.
yeah,
I get what you're trying to
yeah,
say.
so-
But I
yeah.
think as young people, we need to take time to learn about what happened back in the day.
Yeah.
To understand fully, because
sure.
I've met girls who say, "Ina andive umbagwedo ndisina kubhadharwa 10,000."
Yeah.
And when after paying that 10,000, you then come to me in my house and tell me that change the diaper. Hey, it's good to change my child's diapers, but you don't tell me to. I'll do it when I want to.
Yeah,
So that's the thing. I think people need to also take time
Yes.
and learn about what happened in the culture, why we pay lobola, why things were the way they were before you try and change. But I think the best way to change the rules is to know the rules before you change.
That's 100%.
But now it's takuta shortcut, takutangira pakati, I don't want to know we're progressive and
Yeah, so, but yeah.
I don't know. I think there's still a lot that we have to talk about when it
Definitely.
comes
Part
to this
two is-
relationship.
I'm keen
Part
for that.
two, because because of time, guys. I think we've done the best we could, but surely you are coming back for a part
Definitely.
two,
I'm
and
keen.
maybe then we'll delve into religion and relationships.
Sure.
Where does religion come
Guys,
in
if it's
together?
the R in Godfrey is for relationship, guys. Like I live and breathe relationships.
Oh wow.
And yeah,
Yeah,
so I have a lot to say. I
Yeah,
have a lot to
maybe
say.
you can just shoot your handles and everything where they can
Super.
find you.
Yo, okay, so
The few that you can remember.
Facebook, and Twitter. You search for @Godfrey Taffy, GODFREYTAFI, Godfrey Taffy. Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And then everything else is actually tagged on those platforms. All the work that I do. Yeah.
Thank you guys for staying with us this long. I know it's been hectic and very winding, but we're going to have a part two on this. But before I let this man go, he was telling me that he was coming from practice because he's going to perform a song at a wedding. So maybe you could just give us nyana, sample nyana of the things that you do. You never know. Maybe you can get someone from the comment section, community.
Okay.
Something.
Let me sing something for you guys. One of my songs. It's called Rugare.
Rugare.
You'll see me dancing, dancing in a storm, glowing, glowing in a fire, Emmanuel. You were always there with me. You took me out from the waters. You pulled me out from the fire. You are the God who calms
All right, thank you. This is my show, guys. This is my show. I taught him that. But thank you so much, guys, and thank you, Godfrey, for your time with me.
It's an honor.
Cheers, bro.
Bro. No.